You see the sign here. That's been here since I was a little boy.
Does it open?
Yeah. When I was 13 years old, my daddy took this car in on trade. This was a drag racing car here. It's a 55 Hemi DeSoto 2-door hardtop.
How many cars are in here?
It's over 200. This got a tree growing up between the grill and the bumper.
Wow.
There's a bunch of those oddities out here. This was my dad's personal car in the 70s. Daddy said, Edith, you don't want that car. It's too fast for you.
We are on the way to Pikeville, North Carolina right now to check out Collier Motors, known among the internet as the last remaining AMC dealership. I don't know what the full backstory is. We're gonna figure that out, but all we know is it's an AMC dealership. All the signs are still there. It was abandoned for a long time, but still owned by the family. And they have, from what I've read, a couple hundred cars in their lot that have been there for 30 years or something. We're gonna check it all out and get the story from the owner. So let's go find this place. He said it was right across from the AutoZone. Oh, I think I see a car right there. I couldn't even tell you what that is. I'm not really familiar with all the AMC models, but oh my god, this is like the coolest thing ever. I'm so pumped for this. Wow, if you didn't know what you were looking at, you'd whiz right by this place and not even see it back there. No trespassing. We are not trespassing because the owner is coming to meet us. This is just the most epic thing ever. I can't believe this is real. Are you excited?
This is so cool.
I know he's selling stuff out of here now, so maybe we could walk through here and see if there's anything cool that we might want.
I already told Mitchell that we should have brought a trailer.
Well, good thing we're not that far away. Oh, I think this is him right here.
How you doing there?
Pretty good. Ugh. I have been filming when you pulled up.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Robbie Collier?
Mitchell.
Mitchell, all right.
Was this paved at one point, or was it a field?
It's all grass. It was a lawn here. This was no cars out here at all, and no cars over there except for the front line, and we had a back line back in the 70s. But it was manicured pretty good. I used to mow the grass when I was a kid here. We actually started downtown in Pikeville. It was a small building that had a garage in the back, showroom in the front. We were there from 55 to 1973 or 4. That's when he had bought this property here. And
oh, I didn't even see there's cars that are completely hidden in there.
Right there, that's blackberry vines. That just happens within a couple of years. It grows up that bad.
So when did cars start getting parked out here, like in their current configuration?
They sort of got on to us wanting us to put a fence on around the place, so it wasn't filled up here, but sort of when we got the fence, we sort of felt free to fill it up. We would buy and sell cars, and we'd sell one and buy two, and that sort of adds up after a while. This is an Ambassador here. This is their top of the line car. This is a 69 Ambassador 343 V8. All Ambassadors came with air conditioning. It was a standard option, standard equipment. You can't say that for even Cadillac, because I've got a Cadillac Coupe de Ville in the back, and it doesn't have it doesn't have factory air in it.
Wow.
Also, this is an Eagle Wagon. It's a 4-wheel drive Eagle Wagon. There's also a little, these were 4-wheel drive. It's sort of like the first crossover SUV type car, because it was 4-wheel drive, and they built it on a Concorde chassis.
Yeah, that's neat. I've never seen a 4-wheel drive car like that.
That's a little CJ5. It's got Dana 44 rear end under it. It started out as a V8 Jeep, but it's got a 6 in it now. But it runs and drives, but it's just rough as a cob. This little Rambler American, it's a wagon, but I had a 2-door hardtop with a V8, 4-speed, 4-barrel. I just sold it to a fella. This is around a 68 or 9 Rambler American wagon. Here's another 70 Ambassador. The 70 Ambassadors that are 360s or 390s all have special cylinder heads that are really good for drag racing. So we always take note if it's a 70, 360 or 390 car, those heads are worth at least $500 or more. This if you want to focus on the AMC motor, that's a V8 in there, which you can't hardly see much of it. But that same motor started in 1967, and it continued the same design motor through 1991 Jeep Grand Wagoneers. You can't tell them externally very much apart because they're all small blocks. and they all look the same, but there's difference in the deck height and the bore. It goes anywhere from a 290 up to 401, the biggest motor they made. Concords were their mid-size car in the 70s. It used to be a Hornet, and then in 78 it turned to a Concorde. Jeeps, we have some Jeeps out here, close to 10 Jeeps out here right now, but AMC was struggling a little bit. They had been purchased partially by Renault in 1980 when my dad got out. They got bought by Chrysler in 1987, and that's when AMC officially ended, and it became Eagle and Jeep. This Ambassador here is a 71 two-door hardtop car. We sold it to a family friend who worked right next door to my dad's dealership downtown. His name was Carl Scott. It had been a program car where our district rep was driving it, and usually it has a lot of options on it. Well, when he retired it and got a new car from AMC, Daddy bought this from AMC, and he sold it to Carl Scott, and he loved it and all, but it came time to buy a new car, and so he traded it in for a new car. And Daddy polished it up and tuned it up really nice, and the guy fell in love with his car again and came back and bought it twice. And he ended up keeping it until he passed away, and I bought it from his grandson. His grandson was out here this past month just to look it over and see what kind of shape it was in.
Is he gonna take it back?
Well, there's thoughts of it. We don't know yet. It's got a little bit of repair that needs on it now, but it's a really, I think it's an early 71, so I think it still has those special heads on it. That's a Gremlin, if you remember the Gremlins.
That's about the only AMC I know what the name is for sure.
Cars 3, the movie Cars 3, I think had Pacers and Gremlins in it. But these came out in 1970. In fact, the very first Gremlins were 2-seaters with 13-inch wheels. They were really economical, and they compared them with the Volkswagen Beetle and how they had like twice the horsepower of the Beetle. This is a 360/70 model car, so it has those special heads. They're big valves and very small combustion chambers, so it has really high compression. We do have other cars. There's over half the cars are what we call off-brand cars. They are Fords and Chevrolets. Daddy called them off-brand cars because they weren't AMCs. But there's a little Chevette. Yeah, there's actually a Chevette club, and there's like an Escort EXP club. I just sold a Escort EXP to somebody. Rutledge Wood, I don't know if you know Rutledge Wood.
Yeah.
He came, he filmed right here. He was doing a overhauling type show called Lost in Transmission, and he came looking for some fender flares for that Eagle. So he filmed here with his buddy that does music videos. These are Pacers.
What just got dug out of here?
Ford EXP. A guy, he had looked for 3 or 4 years for this little sporty looking 2-door Ford EXP Escort, and after he found it, he went a month or 2 later, he came here and saw another one, so he bought it for parts. So he's getting the title with it and everything.
Wow.
These are Pacers. If you focus on Pacers over here, there's 3 right in a row. I have probably 10 or 12, maybe 13 Pacers, and then another 10 Pacer wagons. If you focus on this right here, that's the AMC 401 engine.
Yeah.
I've got a guy who hauls cars for us, has spoken for this. He hadn't got it yet, so yeah, I guess he's still gonna get it. But it's the biggest motor AMC made. You can put them in Wagoneers. This is in an Ambassador, but they're really popular in AMX, Javelins, and such.
1990.
This has a, in 73 and on up, they made it with the 401 motor. They made it with the Chrysler 727 bulletproof transmission. There's a little Ford Exp Escort GT. Look over here, this Javelin. Let me tell you a little bit about AMXs. Okay, AMX first came out, came out mid-year 68. They had already released the Javelins, but the AMX was a 2-seater sports car, sort of positioned between the Corvette and the Camaro. 2-seater V8, really fast. The weight proportion from front to rear was just optimal to drag race with. So in 68 to 70, it was a 2-seater car, but it shared some body parts with a Javelin. Well, 71 through 4, the AMX package was what they put on a Javelin. It included, now this is actually a Javelin with an AMX spoiler on it and door panels and stuff. The AMX package was a fiberglass hood. Some of them were fresh air hoods. Has a rear spoiler, had a 140 mile an hour tick-tock gauge set that had a tachometer and a clock built in on one side. There's a fluorescent lights in there, and it has turned aluminum. You can look through there and see the AMX door panel.
Yeah.
It had turned aluminum. This one's been picked over some, but we've had dozens and dozens of Javelins, but we're down to about 12 parts cars now. Yeah, this is just a parts car. Some of the rarest things we had was state of Alabama in 1971 and 2 purchased from AMC about 120 some state highway patrol Javelins, and they had their Javelins interceptor cars with 401s, and where it says AMX on that spoiler it said 401s because they had to fill in those holes, and it also said straight state trooper on the spoiler.
Oh, that's cool.
They all had the
Where's
they had
that
the
at?
huh
Where they
we
at?
sold them. We sold them. Yeah.
Highball racing, what's that?
Yeah. Team Highball Racing. They were an international road racing team out of Raleigh, but we used to get posters from AMC when they were racing these Spirits. They're really pretty paint jobs on these Spirits, and they were in like Nürburgring, Germany racing, and they were it was Dennis Shaw. One of the guys that was with him was a guy named Kurt Spensner. He always was into really fast 6-cylinder AMCs. He even went down to Mexico and got some of the 4-barrel cast iron intakes. This was a drag racing car here. And like I said, the AMXs, they hook up really good at the racetrack. In fact, Hearst Corporation prepared 52 of these 2-seater AMXs with 390s in them, and they specially prepared them. Had 2 Holley 4-barrel carburetors on it. It's called I can't think of the name of it right now, but
Dual quad.
yeah, it was a dual quad, but it was staggered. It was
Was it cross ram?
cross
or something?
ram. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one actually had at one time had a big block Chevelle motor in it, but he really bragged on the car because they, just hook up well. This is a Javelin here.
It keeps going back here.
Yeah, it's back here.
How many cars are in here?
It's over 200, but
Wow.
we never documented them. But this Javelin, this is a 70 Javelin, which also has those special heads. But AMC got in the 60s, got into Trans Am races, which was competition. A lot of them factory sponsored cars, like the AAR Coupes.
Yeah.
The AR Coupes, the Trans Ams, the Z28s, Boss Mustangs, all in the Javelins, and like Coupes and all. They all competed in Trans Am racing, which was a road race. They did pretty well to start with, but then Bobby, this guy named Mark Donahue and Roger Penske, they had been winning in Chevrolets and Camaros, and AMC talked them to coming over to AMC. So in around 68 or 9, they came over to AMC and started doing really well. The 70 Trans Am car, they had to make a certain, like 2,501 production cars like the race car, so it could be homologated.
Yeah.
So to have this spoiler, this ram air hood and the spoiler on the back, they had a ducktail spoiler on the back. They made these limited production Mark Donahue specials. My dad ordered one, is a green one, brand new. This little old lady came up wanting to buy it. And he had it up on the line. He always did his own dealer prep. He did all the door alignments, the front end alignments. He did it, tuning it up before the customer even had the first chance to drive the car. So he had them well prepared. When some dealers just took them off the truck and put them on the front line. So he had this up on the alignment rack, and the lady came in and said, I like the color of that car. I like that car. Her name was Edith. Daddy said, Edith, you don't want that car. It's too fast for you. It'll just get away from you. You need something more like, he was trying to sell her a Hornet or something. So Daddy said, go get your brother Charles, and we'll talk it over about the car. And Daddy, in the meantime, had talked to Charles and said, Charles, let's talk her out of this car. It's too fast for her. Well, Charles came over and looked at it, and they looked it all over, and Edith said, Charles, what do you think of my car? And he said, Edith, it's the car for you. And she was sold, and Daddy just gave up and sold it to her. Well, sure enough, it was too fast for her, and she spun it around in an intersection or two, and she ended up damaging the front door on it. And but it was a well-known car around town, and this guy who grew up to become a dentist, I think he used to take her groceries out, and he hounded her for the car. If she ever sold it, let her sell it to him. And somehow he ended up with, I don't know if we sold it to him or if she sold it to him directly. We followed it all through 7 owners.
Wow.
And finally, we always wanted to buy it back.
So that's that car over there.
No, it's that car is now, it was here. We kept it here until about a year ago. I sold it to a guy in Maine, and he's restoring it up there.
That's awesome.
But we had one other Mark Donahue car, 396 motor. I had a 69 Chevy CST pickup truck with air, long bed, red and white, and some guys from Miami came and bought it. The man had rebuilt the motor. This is a Jeepster Commando. AMC bought Jeep in 1970. Before then, they were putting Buick V6s in their Jeeps and other. In fact, but AMC did furnish motors for.
Does that have a latch on it?
I think you have to. Oh. AMC did furnish engines for international. They in their Scouts, you could find AMC 6-cylinder in some of their pickups and Travelogues. But I don't know how many 401 motors I bought. I came out of international Travelogues and pickups. This is my last little gremlin here. It's a 72. It's a 6-cylinder with air. A lady in Dudley, North Carolina, I was after her for years. If she ever sold it to let me buy it. Finally, she came up and agreed to sell it. Here's old 66 Chevelle 4-door, hit hard in the front.
Did you just buy this for parts?
He bought it just, somebody came up wanting to sell it. We always thought we could use parts off of it, but I don't think we sold anything off of it yet. We've had it for 30 years.
There's a couple tow trucks in here. What did you use?
We used to use them. Daddy, he never really was a commercial tow man. We always used it for our own purposes. But when the snowstorms happened, he would just charge them $20 to get them pulled out and everything. He never really charged much, but we only used it for our garage purposes. We didn't do it for the public. This truck here, it's got a big Ford 6-cylinder motor, I think a 292 or something like that. But it's got a tree growing up between the grill and the bumper. Wow. There's a bunch of those oddities out here. Here's the El Camino I got for sale as a parts car.
If somebody wanted to buy a car from here, how could they find you? Like, we want to help you out.
Well, I guess you can. My contact information is on Facebook. But my name is Robbie Collier. It's Collier Motors AMC. The business is not actually in business. I'm the executor. My wife and I are the executors for the estate, and we are strictly selling. It's not open to the public. You have to come by appointment to look at the cars, and we sell them one by one to people who visit. And we've had people come over all over the country. As far as just recently, New Mexico, somebody bought a couple of convertibles from me. Had people from Miami, Maine. This is an AMX. It has it's got a fiberglass hood and a fiberglass spoiler on the back. I bought that as a parts car. We just lifted the windshield out of it a couple weeks ago. But that still has a fiberglass hood, but I sold that grill for like $1,200 not too long ago.
When was the last year that you had all the keys for these things on a rack that you could have gone out here and driven any of them?
Well, I mean, they
ran when you parked it.
Each car is a different story, and my dad knew the story on most all the cars, every one of them. Each car is a different story. Some of them were, we would buy cars at auction, and some of them were auction mistakes.
What was this?
This was our body shop.
Oh, really?
We had an AMX in there, a 343 4-speed car. It had a rebuilt motor. These guys came, three brothers came, one from Maine, one from Maryland, and one from Florida. They came together, construction background, but all of them, and they dismantled our roof because it was unsafe. They dismantled the whole roof to get that AMX out of here.
Wow.
And it took them one weekend. I got several trucks. There's a Ford 70 Ford Ranger. That's a Dodge Adventurer. A Ford 77 Ford. Some of these are people are spoken for. Let me show you something over here. This again is the Nash Air Flight. Like my dad had the two-door.
Wow.
He had one that was like chocolate and mint colored, but it was a two-door. But look at the steering column. That's called a uniscope gauges. All your gauges are in that one pod called a uniscope. Your temperature, electrical, gas, odometer, speedometer, all that, you just look at that one spot. It's a very future-minded car, aerodynamically designed. It was a unibody car back when cars were had a frame-on body. This was unibody. Only weighs like 3,400 pounds.
Really?
When a Chevrolet that size would probably be 4,400 pounds. They were pioneers in the unitized body thing. This was my dad's personal car in the 70s, in the late 70s, early 80s. It was a Barcelona Matador Coupe. If you notice the back glass here, they had to homologate Matador Coupes for NASCAR, and they changed this back window here. See this back window?
Yeah.
They changed this back window because it's supposed to go all the way down. But Bobby Allison had to race them, and they changed this configuration. So many production cars had to have the back glass to make it in NASCAR. So he did really well. He won the Daytona 500, but my dad always loved this car. It was a 364 barrel, just purred on the road. My brother they were going to visit me in Nashville, Tennessee. My brother was asleep in the back, and he woke up and said, why are we stopped? And they were actually going about 65, 70 miles an hour, and he thought they were stopped. It ran so smooth on the road. But this is it's suffered in here because it was actually safer outside than inside because a lot of moisture stayed in here, and we didn't really realize it. But
was this in here with the other car?
The AMX was under there.
Or they built all this
they
to
built that
dig it
around
out
to protect the car when they were. If it hadn't been for that refrigerator there, the car would have been crushed.
Wow.
But they built the framework, and they actually took the roof down. They took the brickwork off the edge of the building, and he's restoring that. I think it's a '69 AMX.
So this is the former body shop. When was this built?
Well, it was built probably in the 20s. It was not my dad bought an old school building property, the campus of a school building. There was a trade school. In fact, somebody was here this past week. Steve Howell was here. He used to take mechanics works over in this tin building. They did different classes, and back even before segregation, it was a black school for trade school. But this was ACOC had some of their classes out here. Charles B. ACOC had some of their classes.
Wow.
But he bought it through a different agreement. He actually had bought a property across the street over there, and this family sort of negotiated to trade properties, and he ended up with this. And he built the showroom in the front and a 6-bay garage in the back.
Was there a paint booth in here?
Yeah, there was. And the guy sort of left us sort of sore. He owed us quite a bit of rent money, and he left a few cars on the lot here, abandoned them. My dad paid him twice to paint that car, and he's never done it.
So that car was parked in there.
It was prepped for painting.
It was prepped for paint right there.
He took the windshield out. He had it primed, and he never did, even though Daddy paid him twice to do it.
Wow.
So he sort of left. He also dismantled the paint booth when he left, and he did some other stuff, and he left 3 cars here.
What year was that?
I don't know. It's in the 90s.
Wow.
Early 90s.
That's crazy that car has been in there during the whole decay of the rest of the building.
Yeah.
Wow.
This car just got sold. It's an Ambassador, but it's a rare model. It's a 364 barrel 2-door hardtop Brougham model. Brougham was always top of the line. It's a 73 360 with a 727 transmission. It's got electric windows, and it's got bucket seats, which is very rare for an Ambassador. These are the 52 after the bathtub Nashes. This was the body style that Pininfarina helped design. You see this a 52, that's a 54 there with a Continental kit. If you would focus on the hood ornament on the front of this car, focus in on that. George Petty was a artist in America. He was a sculptor and a poster. He did pin-up posters of girls. Nash commissioned him to look at this. This is Pininfarina's logo there.
This is Farina.
Yeah, this is Pininfarina. Yeah.
Wow.
The same company, Pininfarina, they built Ferraris and Maseratis. They hand built those, and they also designed Fiats and Alfa Romeos and maybe even Lamborghini. I'm not sure, but
they designed those cool Coke machines in Five Guys now.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, okay. You see the Pininfarina badge on there.
Yeah, even the Cadillac Alante was designed by Pininfarina.
This Galaxy's cool.
Yeah,
I think that's Poppy Red.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah.
That's one of the cars that actually was abandoned here from the body man.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's got a Edelbrock aluminum intake on it. Somebody's taking the valve covers off of it, but we have there's a 63 Impala here. 63 Impala. It's got the same front clip as a GTX, but it's a sport satellite wagon.
Oh, that's cool.
That same grill is in a GTX. Got some Rebels. These two are Rebels. That was before the Matador. These Rebels were before the Matador. In fact, the 70 Rebel, which is what this is, they made a sports car, muscle car called a Rebel Machine. We had one. I sent it down to Florida. We actually delivered it to Florida. That is a 77-ish Thunderbird that they used to have. I used to like these cars. In fact, they made a heritage edition with a little padded Landau vinyl top on it. I always liked those, the heritage edition. But there's another Jeep Cherokee. These guys were out.
BFG all-terrain, best tire ever.
What's that?
You got the white letter BFGs
okay, yeah.
on there.
Well, these guys took it out to Busco Beach and were out playing in the dirt out there and on the hills, and they had a little mechanical trouble when we were going back home. So I saw them stop there, and I offered to buy the car right. They didn't even have to take it home. I told them we'll buy it right here.
So these guys broke down, and you just bought the car and took it.
Yep.
And what was wrong with it?
I don't know. We just brought it here and we were going to sell it. So I'm gonna let whoever buys it worry about what's wrong with it. That's sort of what we always like niche cars, unusual cars, because AMC in itself was a sort of a niche. What was the tin building used for? We actually rented it to a cabinet maker, and he had his cabinet business out here.
Really?
There is actually a 67 Rambler Rebel two-door, a convertible in there that's been in there since the mid-80s. Hadn't been outside since 1984 or so. This is a Nash Healey here. This is a parts car. I bought a car that didn't have the correct motor in it. It looked nice on the outside. It was red Roadster, but it motor had been transplanted, so I needed a parts car. So I bought this out of Washington, D.C. area, this big mansion. We pulled up this big mansion and brought it home. That's the last time this Dodge Crew Cab car carrier has been out.
Really?
This thing's been everywhere. My dad and mom would go pick up cars that I'd buy in Nashville and bring them back down here.
When did you park this thing here?
1997.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was one when you parked that truck here.
Yeah, to see the air tank on the front. We had, I think, the air conditioning pump, compressor was the air pump, and you could fill up tires with that tank. This is what the bumper is.
Well, no, the truck's right there. I thought we were in like the 7th ring of Narnia, all the way back there. We really weren't that far from the road.
Oh, yeah,
I'm just so immersed in all of this.
Right.
I mean, you're probably used to it because it's like been part of your life, but
yeah,
for the average person that you see one car in the field, you're like, oh, look at that car in the field. And here it's like, oh my god, this is awesome.
Yeah. Well, you can't see many sights like this, which it's a sort of dying breed, old cars.
Yeah, I think I could speak on behalf of the rest of the world that every car guy in the world thanks you and your family for keeping this here.
So many people criticize us, why are you letting so many cars go? Well, we've had plenty of cars nice cars and rare cars that we bought and sold, plenty of them, and this is just what we have left. I mean, and we some of them were auction mistakes, and some dealerships' policy was don't keep a car more than 30 days, just get rid of it. Well, Daddy didn't have that philosophy, and we didn't run a salvage yard either, so we didn't sell parts off of cars at the time. So now we will sell, before we crush them, we're gonna let people get parts off of them. But you know, some of them are sold and some of them are won't have any value later. But somebody told me 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, said you got a gold mine here, but it's going to slowly turn into a lead mine. But even the lead mine has some value. So
four-wheel drive car too, I see that.
Yeah, let me just tell you a little bit about AMC. In '64, well, way back in Nash, they had a little bit of trouble with their engines at one time, just way early on. And so they try to pattern their engines to be very durable. So they patterned their engines off of Rolls-Royce's engines.
Really?
Yeah, and they were they had 7 main bearings, when some Chevrolets and stuff had 3 main bearings. They had 7 main bearings in between each piston. They were fully counterbalanced in between each throw, and it had full oiling. Everything was oiled by pressure. Some old Chevrolets, they had a little thing that would splash oil up on something, depending, and then it would be spraying off to the side, and it wouldn't be splashing anything. AMC was pressured by the government to come up with a cheaper, more efficient car, so they had to improvise and buy 4-cylinder motors. Huh?
That's really nice on the inside.
Yeah. This has the Pontiac Iron Duke 4-cylinder in it.
Oh, that's cool.
It's that's why AMC had to. They first bought a Porsche Audi engine in for, say, a '77 Gremlin, but this they went with a Pontiac Iron Duke after that, and that's what's in this. And I got 2 or 3 other cars that have Pontiac Iron Duke, but you can even see some Jeep CJs that have Pontiac Iron Duke in it.
I did not know that. Now if these are 4-wheel drive, are they selectable or are they 4-wheel all the time?
It depends on the year. Some of them are full time, and some of them you can select them. It just depends on the year.
Now that's pretty cool. We like 4-wheel drive stuff. I didn't know that this existed. I want to close that.
Yeah, this is the sport version with the. They also had a. You don't have to worry about that.
I want to keep it nice.
This was a '79 AMX spoiler. The AMX package went from a 2-seater to the Javelin, then they made it a Hornet AMX, and then a Concorde AMX, and then a Spirit AMX, and this was the body for a Spirit AMX.
Huh.
They still put 304 engines in a '79 Spirit, and I've got 2 cars here that would be donor cars that are V8 Spirits that have AMX wheels and disc brakes and V8 drivetrain, including the beefier rear end and transmission. I've got 2 left, plus an American 290 Wagon. I just showed somebody. Let me show you this car. When I was 13 years old, my daddy took this car in on trade. I said, Daddy, I fell in love with it. I loved the color and everything. It was a real pretty cinnamon domino fabric inside. But Daddy said, yeah, I'll save it for you. And so he kept it, even though he could have sold it and made a profit and everything. He kept it for me, and I drove it. I went over there bragging I was going to go get my license when I turned 16. And I was driving this sporty car, Matador Coupe, and went over there, and I did what the girl said. She said, do a 3-point turn, and then she said, then stop. I wasn't quite straight when I stopped. I didn't know I was. Then she said, now back straight up. Well, I backed straight up. Well, I didn't realize I was going over the double lane there, the little line. So she failed me. And so here I was, an AMC dealer's son, and then I failed my driving test. And so she sort of humbled me. But the very next day I got to drive this Javelin here. And from then on I've been driving. I've actually been driving. I used to work on a farm, and they would let us drive out in the country when I was 14 and 15 years old. In fact, I learned how to drive here on this property when I was 11. We had a long driveway here. It wasn't junky like this. It was a long driveway, and we were staying down here on a weekend, and I'd been cutting up, and my mom said, why don't you stay outside for a while? We want to keep you outside for a while. Stay outside. And so I got in her car. She had a '69 Toyota Corona, and a little 4-speed car. And I'd watched them how they changed gears, and I was 11, and she left the keys in it, so I hopped in it. I started driving up and down this driveway all the way back to the back, It's almost a block. And I would get it in fourth gear, but then I sort of slide it in and turn it and spin around. And I learned how to drive all of them by myself without anybody helping me.
When you were 11
years
right
old.
here.
Yeah.
What's this factory color called?
Okay, AMC came out with some mod colors. They call them mod colors. They also had a mod package. You could get plaid interior and dummy hood scoops on your Javelin. But the mod colors were Big Bad Orange, Big Bad Green, and Big Bad Blue. Nowadays, it raises the value of the car 20% if it's a Big Bad color. And they painted in 69, they had those two colors in 69 and 70, but they painted the bumpers. And of course, because it wasn't chrome, they added this trim to a Big Bad car. So that trim 20 years ago was like $400. I think they may repop them now.
Wow.
But this was a lady-owned car, 290 V8 with console. It still runs, but it needs a gas tank and it needs fixing up now.
So is that orange car there like your favorite car?
It was, yeah.
What did it get replaced by?
Well, no, I actually sold it. I got a guy he's Dick Vitale's nephew. Is
that the old sign?
That was our old sign. Yeah, somebody bought some parts off of it the other day. A hurricane came through and knocked the sign down.
What year was that?
I don't remember. It was been quite a while ago. It actually damaged that ambassador over there, blew some stuff on it.
Oh, so the broken windshield?
Yeah.
Dang.
But my dad had made the sign himself. He got these special letters from the whatever big place like Lowe's was back then, and made the whole sign and had a AMC logo that he all did himself. We did have some factory signage. In fact, you see the sign here, that's been here since I was a little boy. There's one on the roof and a service sign over the service area. But people have been asking me to sell that sign, and I'm taking offers on them, but that really is going to be one of the last things to go here.
Yeah, that's what identifies the whole building.
Right. And I don't want to just I had some stuff stolen from me, and also I've sold just a few signs here lately. But these are this is a 70 Javelin 304 3-speed manual car with a floor shift. Some lady and her husband from Indiana are buying it. And these are two Matador Coupes. That's the Oleg Cassini brand. Let me tell you about AMC and designers. They had an Oleg Cassini Matador, which had special embroidery and specials. It was color keyed. Everything had like a copper trim on it. And it has its badges, and then it had special interior. That was an Oleg Cassini Matador. It had a Pierre Cardin Javelin. And inside it has just this really unusual satin interior.
So that thing still drove until somebody stole the...
Yeah, somebody stole the brake booster off of it. They came wanting to buy a brake booster, and Daddy didn't sell it to them. And so 2 weeks later, we raised the hood, and there was no brake booster on it. So they came and got it themselves.
Wow.
Renault company out of France bought controlling interest in AMC, so they changed administrations then, and that's about the time Daddy had pretty much was getting out. The interest rates, Jimmy Carter had gotten the interest rates up to 22%, and it's very hard to finance cars at 22%. And so he just went out. He didn't owe anybody anything. He just decided to go out of the business. They had offered him the Jeep dealership.
Is there anything on here that was a new car that was never sold?
No. We sold our last car. Now this is a Javelin. I just sold it for like pretty good money. It was a one-owner car. He worked at the AMC place his whole career. He and his buddy bought twin Big Bad Blue Javelins off the same truck. And they were twins. They only had $50 difference on the tag, window sticker on it. This is a 390 with air.
Still got some tapes in there.
But there's another Barcelona Matador like was in the body shop.
This the NASCAR one?
Rambler here. This is a 64 Rambler American. Really attractive. The body style is a two-door hardtop, which means the hardtop is when you roll the front back glasses down, there's no post in there. There's no frame around the windshield, the windows. This is a two-door hardtop. This is the 440. They also had a 440H, which was just a little bit better. Let me tell you about these Rambler American 64. They were so popular and such better cars than Mustangs and Chevy 2s. They're much better cars, got better gas mileage. when they retired the stampings and all the stampings to make the fenders and the body, AMC sold it to this company in Argentina. And they continued to make this 64 model car through 1981.
Really?
Just like in Mexico, they continued to make the Volkswagen Bug.
Yeah.
In Argentina, they continue to make this Rambler American. They call it a Renault Torino down there. And they put a different motor in it, but the body's the same. I think Pininfarina did redesign the grille. But this little car was in a movie. Well, well, they paid my dad and my brother to be in a movie in Wilson. They had made Wilson in the old town area look like near Dallas, Texas, when JFK got killed. It was a nice little, I mean, they catered to lunch and they got to meet Michelle Pfeiffer and all. But anyway, they drove that car for the movie. I think it ended up on the cutting room floor though. This is also a Rambler Classic with a V8 in it. It's got a floor shift manual. It's I got most of the trim inside, but it's called a 770H. So if you look in the headliner, it's got these chrome trims. That's what made a 770H. It's deluxe interiors. A lot of them had consoles. That's somebody should buy that. We have the title for it. It's a 59 Oldsmobile. And it was it's pretty complete. I think some of the trim might be on the ground, but most of it's there. I got a guy, I think he's in West Virginia or someplace like that wants to buy it. But anyway, it's been sitting here for a while. We had a 69 Chevelle we sold. It had been hit hard in the front. My dad sold it to a guy, and about one of the first few days he was driving it, the guy said, "Let me borrow your car and take it for a ride." And within sight of, they were at a ball game, when inside of the ball game, the guy totaled it. He just, I don't know if he ran a tree or hit another car, but just totaled it, and they brought it back here. We still have the title for it, but it's sold. It was a 69. I got my door open with y'all knowing y'all were coming. There, let me show you something that happened. It was sort of a freak of nature. This little tree here growing up through the hole in the
Wow.
That's awesome.
the hitch back here. It didn't have a ball in it, and my brother just cut it off the other day, but it's still swollen up around the top. And that's just one of the oddities, along with there's a Jeep CJ6 over there that's got the same type of situation.
That thing needs to stay with the car.
Yeah.
Wherever that thing ends up.
Father and son's gonna rebuild this car. It was a car that got a mod paint job on it. This was a $1,000 paint job in the early 80s. When a paint job cost $200, this cost $1,000.
Oh, it's got. Did it come from the factory with the palm trees and stuff on it?
No, it was specially made. It said El Toro Customs on the back, which was sort of a tribute to George Barris Customs in Hollywood. And that brings up something that we used to have. We used to have a 72 Gremlin that was, UCLA was doing a contest, alternate fuels, and they decided to do a hydrogen powered Gremlin. And George Barris from Barris Customs out of Hollywood, the same guy that used to have the Monkey Mobile and the Batmobile and all these other custom cars, he hand did he put a big roll bar up extending through the roof like a luggage rack, but it was a big old thick roll bar, and it surrounded the tank. We bought it out of Arizona Museum, and we sold it to these guys down in Clearwater, Florida, and they kept it for a while, and they ended up putting it on eBay. I don't know if they ever sold it, but it ended up in the Don Garlett's drag racing museum down in Florida. So it's still there. But if you look up hydrogen powered Gremlin, you might see my dad standing next to it out here at the front corner of our building with the Collier Motor sign next to it. This is a Nash Healey. This is a better one. I've got two men very interested in it. They both have competing bids that are right around the same place. And the first guy, I'm going to let him have it. That's a Nash hubcap, but it doesn't have the name embossed in it, so that means it's a Nash Healey. And they're really rare. Even these parts right here, they're $400 a set for that little piece of trim.
Wow.
My brother fell first down into the pit.
Where's the pit?
Well, I mean, that's what we dug to make the lift.
Oh.
We ended up putting concrete over it, but the lift is, you know, the lift had these big shafts.
Oh, the one of the old ones were just the cylinder that comes out of the ground.
The comes out of the ground.
Yeah, they don't make those anymore.
Yeah. Okay. This was Barry Goldwater's AMX. He had this car. His history with cars: he had a Barris Custom Jaguar. Then he had a '55 T-Bird. Then he had a split window Corvette, and then he bought this AMX new, and he altered it so many times. He did different things. There was one page, one snapshot in time, when he had altered the car and done 60 different things to it. But whatever the latest technology was, whether it was a third light or even the cell phone, before anybody ever had cell phones, he had a cell phone in his car. He had gauges out of fighter airplanes. He had like a exhaust temperature gauge. He had a wind speed indicator. He even had an altimeter. And when we bought it from his grandson, I had heard that Goldwater had a stroke, and I found out he wasn't. You know, I figured when they announced on the radio that he had a stroke, because it made national news. And,
oh yeah, that stuff is still in there.
Yeah. It made national news when he had a stroke. So I called up his office in Scottsdale and said, yeah, we're winding down, we're closing this office, and we think he's giving the car to his grandson. So we called through his mother, we called the grandson, and over a period of about a month, we made arrangements to buy the car. If the car was going to be roadworthy, we thought we would try to drive it back.
Does it open?
Yeah. It's got Recaro seats in it now, and a Momo steering wheel and VDO gauges. But it's some of the stuff he took out before he gave it to his grandson.
Wow.
The man who bought this car recently, I'm selling it pretty soon here. But the guy who's made the deal on it, his granddaddy used to work on this car, and as a boy, he would sit in the driver's seat and talk on the telephone like he was talking to President Nixon. And in fact, speaking of Nixon, you know, Goldwater was one of the leaders of the Republican Party, which, I mean, the Watergate situation happened. Even Nixon got reelected, even with that skirmish going on. But it kept brewing and brewing, and it finally became clear that he was probably lying, and he knew about it, about the break-in. So slowly he was losing support from the Republican Party. Well, Goldwater, they didn't have national news channels back then. It was just the big three plus PBS or whatever. But it was wall-to-wall coverage about Watergate hearings. Everybody, the whole world was focused on, almost like the moon landing. They were all focused on the Watergate hearing. One afternoon, Goldwater and two congressmen went to Nixon and spoke with him privately. He drove this car on the property through the gates of the White House, and he went and told Nixon that basically your time's up. You've lost the Republican side of the support, and it's time to think about hanging it up. And the very next day, Nixon resigned. We have footage of him the day before he going through the gates in the White House. You can still see this little ham radio antenna on the top of it, and it was black at the time. The car was originally a black car. He later painted it red, but you can see him driving through the gates. It's a very short clip, but it's on the HBO special called Goldwater on Goldwater, Mr. Conservative, I think it is. And you can still see just a little clip of him driving the car. But he loved this car. He called it Spot. It was his pet Spot. Somebody had a standing offer. They offered me $1,000 for his personalized license plate that had his ham radio call letters on it. His little red Arizona license plate. Somebody stole one of them, but I still had one. And generously, the guy who is buying the car from me, he allowed me to keep one because he knew somebody in DC had offered me $1,000 for the license tag. So I sent it to, he's a dentist who collects tags up there. But it's going to be leaving here in a month or so, this car.
Wow.
That's really cool.
This is something that could,
a lot of history.
Yeah.
this thing could be in the Smithsonian or something.
Well, they wanted to put it in the Arizona, his library, his museum out there. And the guy was runner up. He had first, it won't open.
Oh.
He had first chance to buy it. The guy who restores them, he was trying to hint around for me to donate it to the museum.
Yeah.
That won't go happen. Those AMC motors just ran forever but you can't run them without water in them. And and we sold this to a couple. They had been the ones that had brought cars from the West Coast to us. It's a nice old couple. They put it upstate New York in the barn and let it stay there a couple of years, and didn't bother to check the water in it and didn't check the antifreeze. So during those harsh winters up there, the freeze plugs came out of it because it didn't have good enough. It had fine antifreeze from down here, but not upstate New York. So the freeze plugs and all the water came out. Well, they didn't know it. They put it on their trailer when their daughter needed a car down in Texas. Didn't ever check the water at all. Drove it about 7 miles down the interstate and it froze up because you can't drive them. You know, the sending unit has to be touching water to show register hot on it. And there was no water to be touching that sending unit. So it looked like it was cold, but it just, you know, you can't drive. An AMC motor is very durable and bulletproof, but you can't drive them without water.
I just noticed this good wrench engine cleaner thing was cool looking.
Yeah.
Combustion chamber cleaner.
Yeah.
It's not even open. That's neat.
Yep. I would sell it.
I got some cash in my wallet. What do you want for it?
Well, you give about 10 for it, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll do that. Okay.
That'll be a nice.
Yeah. I also sell this. I just sold one. Did you hear a little sign? The little cha-ching. I sold a. If you look on here, I sold a reproduction dealership license tag that we used to produce. We used to buy them in metal, but it says Collier Motors AMC. I do have them available. Mail order. It costs $11 plus $5.50 shipping, and you can buy, you know, as many as you want to.
You got an eBay page?
Actually, eBay, yeah. If you look up Collier Motors dealer tag, you can buy them and I'll ship them.
I'd buy one of those too if you had any.
I got one.
Was this all paved? Is this
concrete? Yeah.
Is there concrete the whole way around the building?
No, just 2 pads on front and back. Side and side. It's expensive for concrete. We had crush and run. What's called crush and run. It almost turns into cement. But I will go back this way.
Okay.
There's a little 71 Datsun pickup and a Chevy Love pickup here. Some Chevy Love. There's an AMX over there. That's a Javelin AMX parked car. Here's a Matador. You ever seen a Subaru that look like this?
No.
It's a little Subaru Coupe. There's another one there, and there's an orange on the other side. These are cute little cars. My dad, during this era when the gas crunch happened, he actually gained a relationship with a High Point Subaru dealer, and he was really good friends with him. And we would sell new Subarus through our dealership. We also serviced them, and this is what they look like. 80 Cutlass. Got a tree growing out of it. But if you look back here, there's a this is a Hemi DeSoto, the 55 Hemi DeSoto 2-door hardtop. It's got the Fire Dome 8 Hemi motor in it. There's a little Rambler American, like on the show Third Rock from the Sun. They had a little red. It was a family of aliens, and they were trying to blend in, so they chose a Rambler, a red Rambler convertible, to blend in with the. This is what the Rambler Rebel looked like. We had a limited production 57 Rambler Rebel, and it looked sort of like this in the front, but it was a 4-door hardtop, had the 327. It was originally designed to have a Bendix fuel injection, just like Corvettes did, and they didn't quite perfect it, so they just put the 4-barrel motor on it. All these trees came in on were started from one pile of dirt that was put back here for some reason. They hauled a pile of dirt in and it started sprouting trees, and all these trees have sprouted from that, except for just a few that we planted, some pine trees in our line. But
is that the original tree right there, or was that always there?
One of those, yeah.
That's a really big one.
That's where the pile was, near there. Yeah, pretty rare car. You know, a lot of this is just yard art now. It's not restorable, but I mean, where can you go to see a bunch of cars like this? But
nowhere.
This is a
here.
61 Ambassador. That's 1 year only design. This is that Petty Girl. This is one of the oldest cars out here. It has very low mileage, but of course that's irrelevant when it's been here this long. But that's in the 40s. And my dad, he loved those cars too. That has another type of hood ornament on it. And this, if you notice this, it looks a lot like the Nash Healey in the front. This is a 55 Nash Ambassador, and it's got the Pininfarina front end with the inset headlights. And they actually did not have their, it's 55, they didn't have their own V8 motor, so they actually bought them from Packard.
Is that a Pontiac
Le Mans?
Le Mans
Yeah.
over there?
Yeah, we've had muscle cars over the years. We've had GTOs, GTXs, Cutlass convertibles, all types of stuff. But Boss Mustangs over the years, you know, long. There's I could write 2 pages full of stuff we've had here, but that is a Le Mans. I did have a 74 GTO, and I sold a 67 GTO. I had saved up money and bought a 67 GTO. I sold that when we got married to pay for our honeymoon, and that was the best investment I ever made because I got a really good wife. My dad used to drive this. I think it's a 59 Ambassador.
Is there anything in here that's like on the property that hasn't been sold yet that you think could be made drivable?
Oh, there's plenty of cars that could be put back on the road.
I don't know what your curator picks would be for something that could be
It just
fired up and driven.
depends. This little Rambler American like this, but it was a little 2-door coupe. These guys, it'd been sitting for 20 years, a 4-speed car, and he put brakes on it and the clutch, and he's driving it now. These wheels are AMX wheels, 79. I sell the center caps for $100 a piece.
You can kind of see in there. It's got a little.
You push the camera up to the window, you can see clearly inside.
Oh, well, you know more about filming than I do. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah.
I would just like to say, if you have watched until this point, the very end of this almost hour-long video, you are the kind of person that we do this for. You are fascinated by this stuff just as much as we are. Maybe more. I don't know. But either way, like, I see you. I appreciate you. You are why we're able to do this kind of thing. Because if it wasn't for you watching the video, we wouldn't be able to just hop in the truck and drive 3 hours to go, you know, do stuff like this. And then, you know, it takes an entire day to edit it, all that. That enables us to live. It enables us to keep going and to find these things and bring them to light and document them forever. And I'm just really grateful for that. So, if you're here, I'll just say it. If you're here, I like you more than people who don't watch the entire video or don't watch to the end or see me cut out from the main topic to film this outro clip and then they're just like, oh, it's over. No. If you're here, you're a real G. I appreciate you. Follow me on Instagram if you don't already at Stapleton42. Logan's Instagram is at Logan42_, like 2 N's. Mine has the underscore on the end too, but you'll see it's the blue Escalade, it's the picture. Yeah, that's the real Dale Earnhardt trailer. If you're new here, you haven't seen it, there's a video on that too. Check out the Racing History Nerd Zone playlist, and you will hopefully find some stuff that you like to geek out on just as much as Collier Motors AMC. So check that out. We'll see you over there.